7:07 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. There is so much going on, and I love when Brian Wilson will get up early, make some coffee, and join us to talk about the news of the day. And man, Brian, of course, we've got some news today. I want to, and we've been dealing with this and covering this all day long. And President Biden, of course, he will not be charged in the documents case, but the firestorm, the political firestorm, where he was described, as you know, but for folks that are just joining us, special counsel report on Biden's handling of classified documents shows him, and this is a quote, and Brian, I think this would look really good on like a campaign bumper sticker, a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. And he goes out there, bro. He goes out there to try to, fix all of this, and he blows it.
Yeah. It was, I think, the most remarkable thing I've seen in a long time. I mean, look, when Grandpa tells a story and the details get a little fuzzy, we all sort of smile and well, Grandpa, he's really getting up in age. And we don't take too much, we don't take it too seriously. But when that person turns out to be the president of the United States and he's making gaffe after gaffe after gaffe, I mean, there were gaffes last night. I mean, most people haven't talked about this one, for example. Now, he was outraged by the fact that the special counsel in his report said that he could not remember with specificity the time period in which his son had died, Bo. And there's been a lot of questions because he always talks about that incident, and he always talks about how Bo died in Iraq, but Bo didn't die in Iraq, and but he tried to push back on that in this remarkable press conference last night. And this is what happened.
How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business. Let me tell you something. Some of you have commented. I wear, since the day he died, every single day, the rosary he got from Our Lady of...
He could not remember the name of the church, and he was mentioned he has a little bracelet that's made up of the rosary from that day.
Yeah.
But he could not remember the name of the church. And then, there was another horrible gaffe that seemed to really just kind of make the point that the special counsel was making when he mentioned President Sisi.
Yeah.
Now I think that was an apparent reference to Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the president of Egypt. However, our president, the leader of the free world, said that President Sisi was from Mexico. That's the third time he's messed up a foreign leader's name. There was the thing that happened a couple of days ago where he talked about Francois Mitterrand.
Yep.
And a conversation he had at the G7 in 21. It wasn't Francois Mitterrand. Francois Mitterrand had been dead for a number of years. It was Emmanuel Macron. And then he recounts the same thing again, but this time talking about the conversation he had with Helmut Kohl. And it wasn't Helmut Kohl. Helmut Kohl had been dead for a number of years. It was Angela Merkel. And now he calls the president of Egypt the president of Mexico.
Yeah.
You've got to wonder right now if the vice president is calling the cabinet to begin the 25th Amendment procedures. I mean, it's scary that the leader of the free world has lost his mind, and everybody just goes around and pretending like it's no big deal. To me, it's incredibly scary. And then just set aside for a moment, Dan, all of that. The whole look of the thing last night, where reporters were asking him questions about his mental acuity.
Mr. President, for months when you were asked about your age, you would respond with the words, "Watch me." Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They expressed concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your answer to that question?
Because I'm the most qualified person in this country to be president of the United States and finish the job I started.
Yeah, and then it's just a cacophony from the hounds and the press corps who are asking these questions because they never get access to the guy. Right. And this is the question on everybody's mind. It was a disastrous report from the special counsel. It was a disastrous, press conference that occurred late last night. I don't know why he decided to do that. I think it was probably something he wanted to do, and I think staff probably tried to talk him out of it. They should have been successful because it didn't help him at all. It hurt him. And then there's the whole story that just aggravates you and me and just about everybody on our side of the equation about the dual standard of how you give the president of the United States a pass, but you take a whole different approach when dealing with Donald Trump on this issue.
So a couple of things. Number one, did you find it curious, and I've got the audio here, John, I need some audio. Did you find it curious that Biden comes out, he gives his speech, and then the first guy that asks a question, is allowed to ask a question, is Peter Doocy?
President Biden, something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's
How
totally
bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad I let you speak. That's
Do you feel your memory has gotten worse, Mr. President?
My memory is not good. My memory is fine. My memory, take a look at what I've done since I've become president.
So I thought, Brian, it was interesting. Doocy's always the most combative, and Biden picked him first.
I think the president went out there saying, "I'm going to show them." Well, I don't think he showed them.
He showed us all right.
Yeah, he showed
actually.
us a lot. Yeah, but it wasn't what he hoped that he would show us.
No, it as you say, it was a complete disaster. Do you think I've got to jump to traffic? Coming back, I want to ask you, when you were watching this, there was a moment. I of course watched it this morning when I got up. There was a moment where, as you mentioned very, very descriptively, the cacophony of all of these reporters. There was a moment there where Joe Biden, the leader of the free world and the president of the United States, he actually looked completely lost. Brian Wilson from The Drive is joining us for his very unique perspective on all of this, because, Brian, you've been in those situations where a president is just, being thrown all of these different questions all at one time. But did you notice that there was a moment where Biden just looked completely lost, overwhelmed?
Well, it does happen a lot. Look at his face. He just seems like it was a cacophony. I mean, there's an old saying when the press corps is acting like it is that there's blood in the water and the sharks are circling. And, there comes a time when, you have to ask hard questions of an elected leader. And, but it looked like it was just a horrible look to have, this whole crowd of reporters all shouting at the president. And literally, they were only a few feet away from him in this particular setting, where the press conference took place. And it was just a horrible look. And I think he looks lost. You've noticed if you watch recent events where there's an event involving the president, there's a whole new process that now takes place. His wife will escort him to the podium.
Yep.
And then wave and then when he begins his thing, it gets into the teleprompter, she steps away. And the moment that it's over, she's right there by his side again. And it's because they don't want that moment that always happens. It's remarkable. He turns and looks around like, okay, where am I supposed to go? Do I go this way? I go that way. She's there to grab him by the elbow and escort him off the stage so he doesn't have that lost puppy dog moment.
Yep, the Roomba president, as I say. Now, let me ask you, Brian.
That's exactly right.
Let me ask you, for Washington, D.C., I want to sort of zoom out a little bit. You and we've been talking about, and talk show hosts across America, we've all been talking about the president's decline in mental acuity it's been years we've been talking about this. Finally, it seems like, the rest of the media has caught up to where we were, Brian, years ago. So from a media standpoint, from a narrative standpoint, does this do anything to move the Democrats to try and invoke the 25th Amendment, knowing, of course, that Kamala Harris is, in the batting circle?
This is the horrible thing about it, is that, to have Biden leave the stage via the 25th Amendment, which would require the vice president to get in touch with the cabinet and to have a meeting and to see if they all have the same opinion that something needs to be done, which I don't think it's ever happened in the history of the country, of course. And so that would be remarkable. But I have an old saying about Washington, that Washington, the folks there don't act, they react. They react to pressure. And generally when they react, they overreact, as is my old saying. But in this particular case, it has to reach critical mass where something happens. Look, I mean, there is no great outcome here. Because if you were to invoke the 25th Amendment and go through that process, and then Kamala Harris becomes the president of the United States, and that's not a good outcome for anybody.
No, it's not.
So, I don't know what the answer is here. I guess maybe the best outcome is to win in November and hope that nothing horrible happens between now and then. But I don't have a great deal of confidence on the world stage being as dangerous as it is right now, with war breaking out in the Middle East and our troops being attacked, and Putin acting badly in Ukraine, and the Iranians continuing to support chaos around the world, and the North Koreans are acting up again. I don't have a great deal of faith that this man can get us through a real crisis. And I don't know what the answer is, but this nation is in a world of hurt right now because we don't have effective leadership.
All right, now I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat.
Okay.
Do you think that, because we know that the New York Times and Washington Post, on occasion, they'll either run polls or they'll run editorials. It's time for Joe Biden to go. Do you think this is another salvo where Robert Hur, the special counsel, put this on paper, black and white, in an official special counsel report to try to maybe push Biden out, and then he just stepped right in it? I'm wondering if this is a message from, the dark corners of Washington, D.C., that Biden needs to go.
The special prosecutor was appointed by Trump, believe it or not. And so, I don't know if that was something other, but, the president is in denial. As the old saying goes, denial is not just a river in Egypt. I mean, he's in complete denial. He thinks everything is just fine. But, I mean, it's like when you go to take the keys away from Grandpa. Grandpa, you can't drive anymore. We're going to have to take your keys away from him. What's the conversation? There's nothing wrong with me. But this is exactly what we're having, a Grandpa, we need the keys moment.
Yeah.
Except that it happens to be the leader of the free world. And instead of the keys, we're talking about the presidency. It is just unbelievable that we have gotten ourselves in this mess. I don't know if Robert Hur was trying to push him out, but I think his observations, based on what we've just seen in the last 24 hours, were pretty much on point, I believe. Yep. He is a doddering old man, and he doesn't have a great memory, and he confuses things and seems to be lost most of the time. Oh my gosh, it frightens me that this man is currently the leader of the free world. So who would you rather Donald Trump run against, Kamala Harris or Joe Biden? I don't think either one of them. I think if you run against Joe Biden, I think the way things are shaping up, it's beginning to look pretty good, but it's a long, long way till November. Kamala Harris has worse numbers than Joe Biden does. Yep. But I just think that my thinking is that, and there's a lot of people who feel this way. Donald Trump feels this way, that Joe Biden ultimately will not be the nominee. Right. I mean, if he has one more faceplant moment where, he trips on a stage, or if he were to have a moment like we had with Mitch McConnell, where he sort of froze and had a brain lock, I mean, I think it's over, and they'll have to do something. But I think their goal is, let's get to the convention and let's see if we can circumvent, Kamala and insert somebody else. And I think the person that most likely fits that bill would be Gavin Newsom, who seems to be running for president while not running for president. So I think there's something going to happen that will change that. Yeah. And I think they would like to have control over that, but they may not be able to do it if it continues to deteriorate the way it's deteriorating. Michelle Obama? No, everybody says that. I know. I have to ask you. I've got you on the phone. Well, my longtime feeling about that is everybody that I've ever heard who talked to Michelle Obama tells me that she just detested every moment she was in the White House. She detests Donald Trump more. Yeah, but I still don't think she has the fire in her belly, and she's been asked about that in the past, and she said, no, I have no interest. I know a lot of people like the idea of Michelle Obama. I just don't think she's the one. There are other people who are qualified within the Democrat Party that they could call upon.
Yeah.
But they say Michelle Obama could win, and I think that may be right. She could. Yep. At least it would unify Democrats in a way that they're not unified right now. But I just think that there are a number of people who could do that, and she just doesn't have the fire in her belly. From everything that I've heard, time and time again, her position about Washington was vehement. That she hated it. She hated being in the White House. She considered it like being in a prison. She did everything she could to stay out of the White House when she was there. Mm-hmm. I mean, and most people don't know this. She would get out every day. Secret Service would take her out to go kayaking just because she couldn't stand to be in the White House.
You know what? We'll have to wait and see. I can see Michelle Obama trying to be installed because, as I've said before, she doesn't have a record to run on.
Yeah,
Gavin Newsom has a terrible record.
Yeah, you may be right, but I just don't think, again, I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll eat my hat, but, we'll put some salt and pepper and Tabasco sauce on it, and I'll eat it. But I just don't think she wants it. And I think there are other people out there who have been in government. The weakness of Michelle Obama is she's never been an elected official.
Yep.
She's never run anything. She's never really done anything except, be a mom and a supporter and a first lady who had a garden in the backyard.
All right. Time will tell. And I know there's going to be a lot more with this afternoon on The Drive with Brian Wilson. Brian, thanks for waking up early. We'll see you later on today at 3 here on Super Talk 99.7.